Okay, let's go to Psalm 37, verse 11. All right. Amos, could you read?
Sorry, I forgot to unmute myself. Va'anavim, sorry, Yershu Aretz V'hitanagu Al Rov Shalom.
Okay, can you analyze all the verbs?
Okay, analyze all the verbs. So let's go to the second word, which is Irshu, which is like on the root is Yarash. So this is like cow prefix 3m plural, and which means the special feature is the arets, which serves as its object. So they will possess, or they will inherit the land. So that's the first verb. Then we move on to the third word, which is also a verb. Its root is it's ayin nun galet. Ayin nun galet. Yeah, this one. Yeah, Gimel. Oh, Gimel, sorry. Ayin nun Gimel. So this is hit pa'el, and this is affix, 3 common plural, verb conversive or verb conjunction or verb reversive, meaning they will enjoy themselves, and they will enjoy themselves, or they enjoyed themselves. So it's either a future tense or past tense. And those are the two verbs. And the only two verbs. So the entire translation of this verse would be, and the afflicted or the poor will inherit the land, and they will delight themselves with the multitude, the riches of peace or shalom, peace. Yeah.
Okay, good job. Do you have any question? Hebrew scholars, I'm expecting that you are raising quite important questions and any comments or any different approach, analysis. Do you all agree? Amos' analysis was correct? Okay. Silence is a good sign, right? So there is no problem and any rejection. Okay, actually, when you are dealing with a passage like this, I want you to pay attention to the certain nuance of words. And you know that shalom means peace, and normally we translate it as a peace. It's quite interesting if you look at the different translation and it uses different words. KJV use in the abundance of peace. NAS use in abundant prosperity. And NIV, peace. NLT, prosperity. RSV, prosperity. YLT, prosperity and peace. Interestingly, NLT is using both in peace and prosperity. So now I told you a long time ago the way about the way I approach one passage. I don't normally start reading, original language, biblical languages. When I do the meditation, I normally start from this kind of simple comparison. I start reading NIV because NIV is normally most read version, right, and used version. But after reading the passage, I normally go to YLT, and you know that NIV is quite uh, I have to say, a modern translation sometimes differentiates its original literal translation to make better sense. So in the sense, you may find a lot of issues. So NIV using peace and then shalom is normally translated with the concept of peace. So instead of simply adapting, the meaning chosen by those English translation versions, you have to go deeper. Okay, so the analysis of the word is not just about verb, but you have to study deeply when it comes to even nouns and adjectives, so that you will have a concrete understanding. So why is that we have even two concepts here, which is peace and prosperity? Are you wondering about the reason? Then what do you need to do? You need just to go to the vocabulary and lexicons and check. In Bible Works 8, we have three: BDB, Holiday, and then Harris. Sometimes you may not find the meaning in every book, but most of the time you will be able to find. So BDB says completeness, soundness, welfare, and peace. So when you are talking about the concept of shalom, then you cannot simply say it's peace, because it applies the nuance of a modern usage of the terminology of peace, right? But in terms of biblical language of Hebrew, it's more than the peace that we have in the modern context. You can see that it generally covers the idea of completeness, soundness, welfare, and peace. So when you're talking about peace, then we tend to consider it as a physical, what is a metaphysical idea, okay? Something that takes place in your heart, in your mind. I don't have a peace, and we need a peace in Myanmar, something like that. But when you're using the word shalom, the Hebrew language, it means more than a simple idea of a peace. So holiday just provides different types of the meaning. Number one, ease, unaffectedness. Number two, prosperity, success. Number three, intactness, wholeness. Number four, well-being, state of health. So yeah, when we are talking about well-being, even it covers the idea of health. Okay, so now we have a prosperity and success, and now we have a health. Isn't it amazing? Number five, prosperous relationship. Even it deals with the relationship. Number six, weakened kindness. Number seven, strengthen total prosperity or salvation. Now, if you look at the concept of shalom, and you begin to see that, wow, such a deep word, isn't it? So when Jewish people are greeting each other, saying shalom, and it doesn't simply mean I pray that you will have a peace, go in peace. What does it mean? I pray everything will go well with you. Okay, in a holistic way. So I know that some Pentecostal preachers like to, grab the idea, say, "Hey, shalom means even prosperity and success and health." I like it, because some of our even conservative, evangelical Christians normally highlight, it's not meant to be understood that way. No, in terms of shalom, we need to deal with the what is it, the completeness in the holistic way. So when I say shalom to you, and such a deep word and such a holistic blessing. Okay, how many of you need this blessing of shalom today? I need it, and we need it. So do not limit the concept of shalom to the spiritual one. Of course, when you try to interpret this passage, you cannot really always say it implies the idea of wholeness of holistic blessing. Of course, there should be a focal point there. Okay, so then you need to really pay attention to the context, what it means by shalom. Does it really mean um, what is it, the inner peace, or does it really mean prosperity, material prosperity, or relational blessing? What is it? State of health? I think you need to really pay attention to it. So according to your research so far, you deal with this, passage. What is your understanding? What is the psalmist dealing with here? Can you find the concept of prosperity or success? How do you see? What is your observation? I think first of all, we can see the concept that internal turmoil. Okay, because it begins with kind of complaint that it's not fair to see all the evildoers have a great life, right? So probably internally this psalmist doesn't have peace. So probably it has something to do with this kind of inner concept of emotional praise. Of course we can see that, but it's not only the parts that we can see. Of course, the psalmist clearly delivering the idea that, stay in the land, okay? You will inherit the land, okay? You will possess this. So according to the context of Psalm 37, even you can see the concept of material blessing there too, okay? So this is what you have to really do, okay, in your study. So if you rely on the choice of KJV or just NIV, you will not be able to utilize what you have learned in Hebrew 1 and 2, 3. Okay. So now I'm encouraging you to go deeper. Instead of just simply depending on the given meaning, you need to be a serious scholar. Sometimes people will not agree with you. It doesn't matter. Okay. Even as a professor, it doesn't necessarily mean that whatever I'm going to suggest will make perfect sense. Sometimes, I may make some mistakes in analyzing all those information, but it's okay. So you have to try, you have to start doing this kind of research. Okay. And then if you can get some fresh insight and idea, then people will appreciate it. Okay. So I hope you can even learn something here. It's a very simple way of doing research. Number one, what is it? You just study the use of each vocabulary instead of just simply jumping into the meaning given by any English version. Okay, and if you can find the different approaches, that would be really good. So from the perspective, the laity, the church, who don't study this one before, they may quickly get the idea that okay, psalmist is talking about the peace, inner peace, but you can clearly see the concept that okay, from the mindset of Jewish people, shalom means even more than the inner peace. Okay, and then in order for us to have a peace, our life should be going well. And plus, this psalmist is saying that do not stay in the world, but stay in the land where you can find the peace from God. So delight yourself in the Lord. That is the concept, right? So it's interwoven and everything goes together. So that's amazing. So now, if you really start reading it again and again, you will be able to find a lot of things here. Another thing, very simple, what is it, point, but then makes really great point. I'm just teaching you how to do your research. Look at this. In terms of the usage of anak, when you analyze it, does it look familiar with something? Anak? Does it remind you of the previous passage? Do you remember anything? Let's go back to verse, I think, 2 maybe, or 3, probably 3. Where was it? Verse 7. Anak was used previously. Do you remember which one?
Maybe 4?
Yeah, before.
37:4.
4.
Verse 4.
Verse 4. All right. So in verse 4, it says what? Delight yourself in the Lord. So it's a hitpaya. So it's commandment. Delight yourself in the Lord. Now, anag is used in the Hebrew stem, and then it said, delight yourself where? In the Lord. And let's go back to verse 11. And it says what? Delight yourself in the abundance of peace. So if you really pay attention to even the word uses, you will be able to see some connection there. What is the connection between these verses, verse 4 and verse 11? So in terms of biblical language, you need to see something special there. Perhaps if you read just the English version and translation, then you cannot really catch this. Isn't it amazing? The word anak is used twice, especially in the same Hifaya stem. All right. So what do we mean by delight yourself in the Lord? And then it has something to do with this idea of delight yourself in the abundance of peace. So there must be a strong tie between them. Okay. And it gives you a curiosity. What is it? And then you can go deeper. You see? So when you're talking about, when you just try to analyze one passage like this, then I will definitely encourage you to look at the same word uses and see if there is any consistent idea there. Okay? So now, do not simply rely on, this English translation, but try to approach this issue from different angles. Now, we started from what? Word study. And now I'm encouraging you to look at specific passage where you can see the same words used by psalmist. Okay? And you can develop a sermon here. I may entitle my sermon dealing with this. You can prepare many sermons here, right? Differentiating the focal point, but the world needs to what is it? Know how to delight themselves. Am I right? Okay. So maybe the joy or the delight yourself could be a really good idea. And then you deal with all those different passages. Okay. Emphasizing what is there. So that's one thing that you can pay attention to. Okay. I hope you are learning something here. Okay. So let's move on then. So then you will need to decide which one you prefer. If you say this is just a prosperity, then I think it doesn't really cover the deep meaning of this holistic well-being. Okay? Because when you are using the word of prosperity, the idea is limited to the material blessing, isn't it? But do you really think the psalmist is dealing with only the concept of material blessing. I think it should be there though. So in the sense, maybe NLT is a good translation, peace and prosperity, to make better sense to our just this laity in the church who doesn't have any theological study background. Or you can just stay with the concept of peace. But in your preaching and in your study, you can define what it means by peace there. Instead of saying it's just the inner peace, okay, the moral issue or the political or social issue, but you can just go deeper. Oh, no, no, no. It must deal with another holistic, status of well-being. Okay? Then people really, really appreciate it. Let's move on. Verse 12, Albert.
So, ma'am, I have to read it?
Yes, please.
Okay, let me try. So, ma'am, Russia, Dik, Ve, Orek, Allah,
Eve.
Allah, Eve, Sinat,
Shinaiv.
Sinaiv.
Okay, good job. Analyze it.
Okay, the first verb is the first word, Semim. Stem would be called, form would be participle, MS. Special features, none, and the meaning will be considering. The second one is Harax, the fourth one. The stem will be called, form will be participle, masculine singular, verb conjunction, and crying thief.
All right. Okay, go ahead.
My translation will be, I put in parentheses the, so the wicked considering against the righteous and crying his teeth at him.
At
him.
At him. Okay. Yes. Okay. All right. Good job. So now, what drew your attention here? Actually, you need to pay attention to the usage of the specific form. It's all participle. I don't want to say participle should be always related to the concept or notion of a continuous ongoing action. You cannot really say that because participle can be used in various ways. But you need to ask why. It could be used with a fixed form or prefix form, but why do we have participle? Because, of course, prefix or fixed forms are more common than participle. So this has, something to do with questioning. So good researcher always start from good questions. The curiosity is the good resources that you need to have. If you don't have a good question, you don't have a good answer, and you don't know what to do, isn't it? So when you are, let's say, doing your further studies, like for your PhD or doctoral level, in your proposal, you need to have really good research questions that you need to answer through your research. So, I spent 2 months to polish my research questions, and it deals with only one main question. And under the main question, I have 4 sub-questions. Can you imagine? I have 5 questions, and then it took me about 2 months to get good research questions. That's how important it is, for you to ask good questions. So Probably I have no a concrete answer here, but I'm kind of encouraging you to start thinking. And when we are doing this syntactical analysis, I think it will help us to see which verbs are used in the participle form. Do you understand? And then it will somehow help you to see which verbs are under the same level. Okay? It all affects and it all helps us to see the flow of this passage. Okay? But anyway, so you did a good job. And interestingly, if you compare the English translations, and I could quickly catch up with some word. Actually, as highlighted in red, NIV, NLT is just use at them. At them, they use the plural form. But in terms of biblical language, it's not plural form. It should be him. Okay. And does it signify any idea? Well, I told you before, sometimes the plural subjective subject and plural subject can be used in the sense of singular form. Why? Because it can be used collectively. It refers to a group of people. It should be plural, but it can be sometimes dealt with in a sense of singular form. So it doesn't really matter. But in the beginning, it clearly refers to what? The adjective, just to go back to the previous passage, and you will see that the weak, the poor, right? So it should be plural form. So the translation was, but the meek will inherit the land and enjoy great peace. And verse 12 says, the wicked plot against the righteous and gnash their teeth at him. So it refers to people. Okay. So that is a difference. Can you see any other significant difference here? And YLT, the wicked is devising against the righteous and gnashing against him his this. So I think the idea is quite straightforward. So in this case, I don't really want to pay a great deal of attention to the differences between English versions. But if you think it signifies a big difference between him and them in terms of theology and in the interpretation of the context, I think you can go deeper. Okay. So then let's move on, since it's not really important to me. Verse 13, Kanae.
Adonai Yiskak Lo Kiraa Kiyabo Yomu.
Okay.
The verbs is Shakak, Sakak, Sakak, Kal prefix, 3 MSG,
Go ahead.
then preposition le, lamed, and 3 MSG suffix. The meaning is he will laugh at him. Then another one is Ra'a, Kal, affix, 3 MSG, special feature key. And the meaning because he saw. Then another one is Bo, Kal, prefix, 3 MSG, then special feature key, then that will come.
All right. So what is your translation?
My translation is the Lord will laugh at him because he sees that his day will come, or his day is coming.
Okay, sounds interesting. I think in terms of analysis of all the verbs, and you did a good job. What about others? Do you have any other opinions regarding the analysis of the verbs? Do you think Kanai did a good job? Okay, so it seems like everybody agrees. But Kanai, I have a question for you. Now, let's just pay attention to the tense. So we have three verbs, okay? And okay, you just begin to see this. Very simplified understanding. If you wanna just translate prefix form as a future tense and then affix form as the past tense, now you begin to see that even prefix form can be considered as a present tense or sometimes even what is it past, okay? Even the other way around for the affix form, okay? But the sense of completeness or incompleteness should be there. Okay, now let's just deal with those issues of tenses from different angle in terms of complete or incomplete actions. So now we have how many complete actions and incomplete actions here? I'm asking you, Kanae.
For me, one complete and two incomplete.
So yeah, what are the incomplete actions here?
Sakak and bo.
So what is your translation for those words? So what will continue in terms of incomplete action? The action of what?
I put in a future tense the laugh. I put he will laugh. But when I saw Ra'a, then I usually translate it as he saw. But then because I understand it's perfect tense, but when I moved into translation, I thought it's weird because he will laugh then if he already saw. It's like if he laugh, he will laugh. If it need to be he will see. So I was thinking then I changed some for my translation, but still
Okay.
I'm a bit confused.
No, I think you're on the right track. And what you are doing is really right. So when you put the translation, you need to make sure that your translation makes sense. But you need to do your best in not harming the literal idea. Okay, so if you say he will laugh because he saw his day will be coming. Okay, what does it mean? But it comes with the idea that, okay, somehow God's wrath, because now we can see that the life of the wicked people seems to be going well. So the judgment is not arrived yet, but God already saw it happen. God will, it doesn't say that God will see, okay? But from our perspective, we have to say people will see, their day is coming. But from the perspective of God, it is a complete action. Isn't it amazing? Of course, the literal translation should be dependent on you guys, okay? But you need to make sure in delivering the idea that, Psalmist is dealing with this passage as a complete action. He already saw what will happen. Okay, then it comes with the certainty. It's not guess, it's not prophecy, but from the perspective of omnipotent God and then omniscient God, he is totally outside the time. He lives, in the past, in the present, in the future at the same time. Even he is out of the time. It's really hard for us to understand, but he is in the future even now. So from his perspective, he saw it. You can say that. So now then, it's quite amazing that from the perspective of God, it's not uncertain. It is certain. He saw it. it comes with quite a clear idea that he saw it, and believe it will come that way. So now, probably, I really pray this time that you begin to see how to approach this kind of study. It's very simple change, and probably you were not able to pay attention to this when you are analyzing all those verbs here and in your assignment. But you need to start paying attention to even these things. Okay. And sometimes you may be caught by this idea that, oh, it must be special. It must be special all the time. It doesn't work all the time that way. Okay. But your serious approach to see something new and something significant is more important than, how can I say, just following the simple meaning or translation. Okay. And people will really enjoy it and appreciate it. Okay. So can you imagine yourself preaching like this? Okay, look at this. Okay. If you pay attention to this, then you cannot really see it. Let's say RSV. In terms of RSV, then it choose this way. Where are you, RSV? But the Lord left at the week, for he sees that his day is coming. So now, in terms of English translation, you cannot see the difference between the first verb and the second verb, isn't it? They are all present tense. The Lord left at the week, for he sees. But in terms of biblical language and the grammar, it's different, isn't it? It's a complete action and incomplete action. Then you need to deliver the idea clearly. Although you may use this present tense, then you can explain. Okay, when we see the idea of God lapping, it is used as an incomplete action because why? It will happen, right, in the future. So it's not really happened. But in terms of saying, it's already considered happen and complete. So you need to really, deliver this idea to the audience. Okay? KJV said, the Lord shall laugh at him, for he sees that his day is coming. Some NAS, Lord laughs at him, for he sees his day is coming. NIV is the same. RSV laughs at the wicked, for he sees that it is coming. YLT, the Lord does laugh at him, for he has seen that his day comes. So very tiny difference, but it affects your theology. Isn't it amazing? Okay, I hope you are learning something here. Do not think only this passage is dealing with this kind of important issue. If you really are serious enough in terms of being Hebrew scholar, I can see that you will find a lot of meaningful things in your self-study. And please get back to me and say, Pastor John, I found something amazing. I want to share with you. And I will appreciate it. Okay. Okay. So let's move. Verse 14. Samson.
Okay. Herev. Sorry. Herev. Pathu. Reshaim. Vedare. Oh, Vedar. Oh, I don't know what that symbol under the coffee.
Ignore it.
Oh, okay. Oh,
because the last one is the PowerPoint, right? So
yeah, I just noticed
you can read it.
Vedarku Kash Kashtam Kashtam Leha Leha Lehafil Ani Ve 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 Veevion Li Oli um, Bot or Boch Boach Yishre Darek.
All right. When Samson was doing this, God answered a prayer that Brother Chombi just to join. So should be anointing Hebrew reading. Okay, so powerful. Chombi, are you okay?
Yes, they blocked the internet until 9 a.m. in the morning in Myanmar, and they just restored recently.
All right, good. Yeah, glad to have you back. Okay, yeah, we will just move on. Okay, so just let me tell you this. I know you are still confused when it comes to the use of shua. When is vocal and when is it silent? Okay, look at this. Here, if the shua is preceded by a long vowel point, then it tends to be silent. So it's not patte. Okay, this is pat hu. So you are not supposed to pronounce shua as a sh, but okay, pat hu. Okay, it's the same here. The first one should be vocal, so ve, da, but preceded by a long vowel, which is comments. So this one should be silent. Ve, da, ru. Are you following me? So you need to practice on this. And as I told you, since I decided to go deeper in terms of syntax and textual criticism, even other stuffs, rather than simply focusing on this Hebrew reading and grammars, there is a great expectation, to be honest, in Hebrew 3, that you have to cover and master the grammatical aspects and Hebrew reading, because Hebrew 4 will be taught by Dr. K. Fountain in terms of, having the value of Hebrew reading. So I told you before, you will be sitting together with the K Fountain, and she will ask you to do the same. So you need to read the passage, and you need to analyze, and you need to translate. Okay. So the first impression that you will give to Dr. Fountain is the reading, and then I don't want to be misunderstood as if I haven't guided you to the place where you are and you are struggling. Okay, and please just make myself a proud teacher about you. Okay, so please practice Hebrew reading. Okay, it's important, although you will be asked to read it in Hebrew Jewish synagogue. I'm sure you will not, but you have to be familiar with this. So you need to practice it. Sometimes it happens to me, if I know how to read it, but it's all about the extra time to practice. You need to really practice, okay, to make sure after spending 3 months of a break before Hebrew 4, you need to spend, let's say, 1 week to exercise Hebrew reading before taking Hebrew 4, okay? Right? And then I want to hear from Dr. K. Fountain, oh, June, such a smart group of people. You did a good job. And I will be happy. All right. Okay, Samson, analyze verbs.
Okay, the first verb is patak, and it calls them form is affix, 3 MPL, and there's no special features. And the meaning, they opened, and then the next The next verb the next one is darak, darak, and it's cow stem. Form is affix, and PGN is 3 MPL, and a special feature vowel conjunction, and the meaning and they bent. And then the next one is nafal, hyphostem, infinitive construct, and it's no PGN. Lamed for special features, and put to cause to fall. And the last one is tavach, yeah. The last one is tavach, and it's cow stem, infinitive construct, PGN none, and lamed for special features, and to slaughter. And the way I translated was, the wicked opened the sword, and they bent their bow to cause the poor and needy to fall and to slaughter those who are upright in the way.
Okay, good job. Any questions from other students? Any comments? Any question?
I have some questions.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Samson will answer, by the way.
Okay.
Not me.
For first and second verse, I think the PGN is not 3 MPL. I think 3 CPL. And for the second verb, darak, I think there is a possibility that verb reversive is work, I think. But he said verb conjunction.
So, okay, good points. So I can see that the Chikara did your analysis by yourself without consulting BibleWorks. That's why you could come up with this idea. Okay, but Samson, I know that you prefer to choose the final one. So the choice of your analysis is correct, but technically speaking, Chikara is right. So, and when it comes to the first one, of course, it's not supposed to be 3 MPL because a fixed form doesn't have M. So it should be 3 CPL. So thank you for the correction. But when it comes to second point, actually, this is more meaningful. So that's quite important. Do you remember when you're talking about verb reversive? In Hebrew 1 and 2, it was quite simple. And then I allowed you to put verb reversive all the time. But it didn't mean that in the verb reversive is always a verb reversive, because we had even two possibilities. But in fact, it has 3 possibilities. But normally, we just treat it as if we had 2 possibilities. What are they? Verb reversive, or the other one is a simple verb conjunction with a fixed form. So in that case, it doesn't need to be translated in the future. But of course, according to the context, it clearly refers to verb conjunction, I guess, right? It's not verb reversive. All right, but anyway, if you want to go for verb reversive, then you need to show me the clear evidence. Thank you, Chikara. You did a good job too. I thought I have one. Okay. Have you learned something from this specific passage, or anything that you could find in terms of the realization or any insights that you were not aware of from this specific passage? Anything that you want to talk? Okay, Samson.
Just the reversive thing. The whole time I've been doing this, I totally forgot about reversive, but the way I was translating a lot of it. So if there was like a verb before prefix, then I will change it to like past tense. And then if there's a verb before like affix, then I will change it to almost like a future stuff without remembering that there was such a thing as verb reversive. So yeah, thanks for the reminder, Shikara. I totally forgot about verb reversive, but yeah, thanks.
Good. So it's good that you guys are already Hebrew scholar, and then you are exchanging your idea and helping each other to grow. I'm glad to see that. I want to see myself doing less, and I want to encourage you to do more for me. That I will be easygoing and whatever. I'm quite excited to learn from you when you are doing your presentation. I'm ready to learn from you. Okay. But anyway, one thing that I want to deal with in a special way is the use of the word nafal. The stem is what? Kifil. Okay. Can you see that? This one is nafal and then the hifil stem. And what is the meaning of this nafal? To fall. And then in the hifil stem, it's causative. Am I right? So to cause to fall. And I think this is quite important word, key word to understanding what is going on. What is the imagination of this passage? One of the most remarkable scenes that you can recall or be reminded of when you are reading this passage is the picture that God is upholding the righteous. Do you remember? And that the concept of falling is quite strong here. Do you see? The falling, the concept of falling is quite significant. So even talking about the specific passage where it says, okay, you maybe stumble, but you will not fall. Okay, or you will, what's the word? I think they don't use the word of falling, but the other way, throwing away. Okay, your head just hit the concrete floor, whatever. So that's the idea. So you can get stumble, but you will not fly away or fall away. So the concept of falling is quite important here. So the evil doers, the action of evil doers is causing the righteous people to fall. Am I right? So that is the concept. So from the perspective of psalmist, the psalmist is dealing with the context that you might be fall. You might be falling. I need to say, theologically speaking, in this passage, psalmist say you will not fall, but you will get stumbled. That's the idea. You will not fall. You will, although you may be stumbled. So I can see that although the world, the evildoers are causing us to fall, but it will not happen. Why? Because God is upholding us. So now the idea of not to be falling has something to do with two things. Number one, our idea is to the concept that, God is upholding us. But what is causing the situation from the context of Psalm 37? So when we are seeing the evildoers in a vicious action, they are trying to cause us to fall. But you need to understand that they cannot do anything to us. Okay? Because God is upholding us. So before, you need to understand the important lesson that God is upholding us, you need to understand what is causing the situation. I think that is quite clear from the perspective of the psalmist here. Okay, the evildoers are causing us to fall. Even we can say Satan is causing us to fall, spiritually speaking. Although, you are not supposed to say Satan at all when you are doing exegesis here because you cannot see it. But somehow you can apply this spiritual lesson to it. But trust that God is upholding you. And then the idea of falling or stumbling is quite important. So if you really try to interpret this passage with the concept of falling or stumbling, okay, you can see something there too. All right. So there must be some special reason that we have this word nafab used in the Hebrew text in order for the author to highlight who is causing, okay? Who is causing the problem. So you need to also see those things here. Okay. So what are you learning here? First of all, when you analyze the verbs and words in one verse, you need to look at other verses too to see any coherent idea, any related idea in terms of a word uses or grammar. Then you just connect it and try to find some value of lessons from it, and you will get something important there. Okay. Any question? Can I move on? Let's move on.
I have one more, like,
Okay.
it's not question, but I just was curious about, there is a word like ani means poor.
Mm-hmm.
You find it, and I found in verse 11 there's also a word means poor in the beginning, in the first one. But it's not the same word, anav. Yeah, so I was curious, like, last time Dr. Jun Kim said, like, there are some words that both of them has the same meanings, but there are some, like, nuance, the different deeper nuance.
Uh-huh.
I thought this is kind of that thing. So I just,
Okay, so what is your understanding of the difference? Quite excited
I
to
don't
see.
I don't know that difference, but I just find, like, the words is different. So I don't really know about why they are different, but
I want to give you a big hands. Seriously, I like your approach, and I'm glad to see you raising this point. In fact, I was about to talk about this, but this is really good attitude of learning or studying the biblical language here. Okay, let me just teach you how to do it. Okay, let's go to verse 11 and then click on it, and then you need to see, let me just, it's very small, but let me do my best. Click on it, and on the right side, you have all the resources. So in order for you to move the cursor without changing what is appearing here, you need to press Shift key and hold it when you're moving, then it will affect it. I taught you this, right? So go, and then whatever is appearing in the purple color means lexicon. So when you go for the word study, these are things that you have to look at. First one is Thayer, Greek English lexicon. So it deals with Septuagint. Sometimes it helps. Okay, in order for you to understand that the word used in Hebrew language, but sometimes you need to see how it was translated into Greek. Then it provides you another deeper level of the word usage. Okay, and then Septuagint was one of the old versions, so you can still value it. Okay, so when you're talking about the textual criticism, so LXX, the Septuagint has great value, right? So in that sense, you can study. But in terms of this Hebrew word, then you will definitely pay attention to BDB. So can you see the word of anav here? Anav. Then you need to see here. The third word is anai. Anai. So I guess it has something to do with this. Probably, then you need to really click on it. So now it provides the meaning of, see this number 3 provides a very specific meaning as a reference for Psalm 37. So in this specific sentence, BDB suggests that the meaning should be poor, weak, and afflicted Israel, and meek. Okay, so you can get those concept of poor, of course, and then it has something with weak, not only poor, but it applies the idea of a weak and an afflicted one. So it doesn't simply refer to the idea of being poor. See? So you have the expanded idea, and I will go to the top to see the general meaning of the word. Actually, it provides the meaning of poor, afflicted, humble, and meek. So that is the general usage of the words anai. But if you really look at the specific passage in Psalm 37, then BDB suggests that this should be coming with the notion of poor, weak, and afflicted Israel. That is what BDB provides. But you don't know what it is yet. Then what you need to do, that's why I'm saying studying just the one passage is not really perfect. Then you need to go to another one. Where can you see holiday doesn't provide reference in terms of Psalm 37, but it still provides the general meaning of the word. Click on it, and then it provides the meaning of what? Low, humble, and gentle. So now you can see that, oh, according to the analysis of holiday, it says it has less to do with this idea of poor, but it touches the idea of being in the status of low, or humble, or gentle. It's more, I think it deals with the broader concept, broader concept than being poor in terms of this word study. Wait a minute. Then what about Harris? Harris, I think it use it as Anna. So you can say that Anna expressed the intended outcome of affliction. So it is the result of affliction, okay? And humility. So it is with they wait on God and are guided by him. As such, they are commended as being better than the proud. So it is with the consequence of being afflicted, okay? Not simply poor, but go up and you have other here. So in terms of the general usage of anav, you can see that anav here means humble, humility. So what do you get here? What is a general concept that you can hear? So delivering the idea of poor, you can see that the first use of anav go deeper. So that's why sometimes you see that it's not the simple meaning of being poor, but a lot of English translation choose the meek, humble, the lowly. Okay, so they use the word in that sense instead of poor. But going back to which one is it? Verse, what verse was it? 14. And you said what is the word? Anai. So it's the same word. Then let me see. Go to BDB, and can you find the meaning? So it deals with the concept that poor, weak, afflicted Israel, or pures in Israel, afflicted by wicked nation of the weak. So it also deals with the poor, weak, and afflicted. I think it has the same root. That is the analysis of BDB. Okay? So the last word is yod. But in the previous case, it was vav. So now BDB is understanding that, oh, vav, yod used to be vav. Because that's why they have the same roots. In that case, then you cannot really separate the uses. It refers to the same idea. But it's really good starting point that, oh, is it a different word? If you could find a different meaning, then that's good. But here, it is considered as a same word. What about other? Holiday. It has a little different one. Overwhelmed by want, poor, wretched. Unfortunate, wretched. So in terms of ani and jod, holiday puts little different emphasis in terms of overwhelmed by want. See? So now, after studying this, you need to make your own decision whether you want to go for BDB or holiday. Okay? But I think in terms of the root and origin, I think they are pretty much dealing with the same idea. So if I were you, I don't want to really differentiate it in this case, since they have or share the same root and same idea. But even if you want to really highlight the difference based on holiday, then I think it's okay. You say, oh, the emphasis is a bit different. It applies the idea of overwhelmed by want, poor, or wretched. That is the idea. Okay? Then you can just go for it. Okay? So now I just show you how to deal with the word uses, but I like it. So you need to really start looking at it. Okay? But unfortunately, it's not totally different word. Okay, it share the same idea, but in different form. Then you can say that, okay, although those words look different, but they share the same idea. But can we see any difference, a certain different nuance, and go for it and deliver it? But you gotta be really careful in dealing with those things because you need strong evidence. Okay, thank you, Chikara.
Thank you, sir.
You know, Chikara, do you want to say something?
No, thank you so much.
Okay, but I really appreciate your approach and attitude. This is what I want to see from you guys. Okay, let's move on. Verse 15. Let's just look at the English translations. NIV, the wicked draw the sword and bend the bow to bring down the poor and needy, to slay those whose ways are upright. YLT, a sword have the wicked open, and they have trodden their bow to cause to fall the poor and the needy, to slaughter the upright of the way. Can you see any significant difference between them? I think YLT intentionally highlight the causative meaning, when NIV just applied a more smoother translation by saying bringing down the poor and needy. Okay, down the NAS to cast down they use, KJV to cast down, and NLT to kill the poor and the oppressed. So it's totally different translation. I don't want to go for it, okay? Because I think NLT got this idea from the following word, to slaughter. So the idea of killing is there, but in terms of the use of nafal in the Hebrew style, I think it doesn't really refer to the idea of killing yet. Okay, so that's it. Let's move on. Isn't it interesting to see those different translations? Okay, you could see because you are a Hebrew scholar already. All right, so let's move on. 15. Let's move on to chikara.
Okay. Verse 15. Sorry, please wait a minute. Okay. Karebat bam tabo beribam ve kasheto tam tisha barena.
Good job.
Okay. For the verb analysis, the first verb is bo. The second one, calls them prefix form, and it's 2MSG, special future noun, and the translation would be you will come. And the second verb is shabar. Shabar, the last one. Yeah, the last one. And the form is nifal, and not form, nifal and prefix form, and 3FPL, and special future noun. The translation is they will be broken. And the final translation is their sword will enter in their heart, and their bow they will be broken.
All right, good job. Any comments from other students? Is everything all right? Okay. It's quite interesting way of expressing the idea, right? They open their sword to kill, to cause the righteous people fall and to kill them. But the what is it? It's quite interesting. This is the feminine, what is that, plural use words, right? So words. And let's go back to verse 14. Very minor difference. Keret, which means sword, was used as what? Singular, right? And have you noticed that this 15 is dealing with the same word, but in the plural form? So that's amazing. Come on, you need to really pay attention to even these tiny difference. They open the sword, but now their swords will come into their hearts. Amazing. Swords, not sword. So that's something that I want to just highlight here. But when it comes to other parts, I think it's quite straightforward. Since we don't have enough time to deal with every single verses, I want to go to a specific passage of.
Sir, I have a question to Kara in the previous.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yes,
yes, go ahead.
Because the verb bo, he used the form 2MSG instead of using 3FSG.
Okay.
Use the second female singular. I just want to ask you
All right.
why is that form, sir?
So your analysis of this second one, do you prefer to use what?
The third person female singular.
Okay, because of this word, you mean?
Yes, sir.
And then that's feminine.
Yeah, yes, sir. And
yeah, in that
Sarah
sense, you're right.
second.
Yeah, you're right. So I think it should be third person. But Chikara, you analyze it as a second person? Okay. I think in terms of the analysis of the word in the table, you can put it. But in terms of the context, I think you need to choose feminine. Romero, thank you. Yeah, I didn't really pay attention to it. So, good point. And let's go to verse. Where is it? Verse 20. Yeah, let's do this. Verse 23. Phineas, can you do this?
Yes, sir.
Can you read it first?
Me Adonai meets Adai Gebel Konanu Vedarko Ekpads.
Okay.
Ekpads.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir. 23. Let's see. Oops, the analysis. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. The verb kun. First the verb kun. The 1, 2, 3. Kun. The third word kun stem. It says actually I used the Bible works is polar stem.
Okay.
That form affix and PGN 3MPL. Special feature none, and meaning they were established. And then kapads, the last word, stem kal, form prefix PGN 3MSG, special feature none, meaning he will delight in, sir.
Okay. So what is your translation?
Translation. The translation from the Lord, the steps of Geber, they were established, and in his action he will delight in.
Okay, so now talking about what was raised by Chikara, we have another word used to mean delight, right? In verse 4, we have the word delight yourself. And then this one, kapas is different word, and it you use the same terminology in terms of English, right? But it's different word. Then this one should definitely deal with different idea. So the first word use of delighting yourself is a bit different, and then it was used for the human. But when God is delightful, and this word is used together with the kapas, then you need to go deeper and see any difference. This is your assignment. You don't need to submit it and just compare. And then, is there any difference between God's delight and then our delight? Okay, you just find it's going to be quite an interesting study. Okay, or what is your final translation again, Phineas?
Okay, sir. From the Lord, the steps of Geber, they were established, and in his action, he will delight in, sir.
So where did you get the idea of establishment?
The word establish. Okay, sir. 23.
So you translate kun.
Yes,
Right.
sir. Kun.
What about the first phrase then?
The first phrase.
From the Lord, and you said what?
The steps of Geber.
Geber.
Yeah, Geber. The just that word. It is in the Hebrew word, but actually the meaning is not really clear. But English translations they translate it in different ways, sir. Yeah, as a steps of man or from the Lord.
Yeah, but Geber can be just generally understood as a man. So in terms of the difference between Adam and Geber, I don't know much, but I think you can go deeper. So I cannot really answer to the question, answer the question right now. But you did a good job in translating the first phrase, because this is quite strange. Do you pay attention to, before we moving on, but either way, you said this is analysis of five works. Thank you for being honest.
Yes,
The Poland. Okay, to help you, hello verb and germinative verb, they are quite unique, right? They have biconsonant component. So when it comes to the stems of pual, hofal, they are not simply following the other patterns. So they have their own style. And then they are called polal, okay, and hopal. So those things are not really totally new, but they are simply working for germinative verbs and hollow verbs. But in terms of the uses, then you can simply follow pual, and you can apply the concept of pual, okay, and hofal, okay? So don't panic, and it happens. We just studied most commonly used stems in Hebrew 1 and 2, but there are other kinds of stems like pulan and pulkil, pilpil. You know, you will see other types of stems, and then the name has something to do with the vowel points, especially in the 3 fixed form. So you need to really pay attention to it. But in terms of the general usage of the stem, we cover the major stems. But there are others that are really different. But in terms of the idea and nuance, it's just the same. But anyway, that is the analysis. But let's look at the translation. NIV, how do you think about this? If the Lord delights in a man's way, he makes his steps firm. How do you think about this translation? What is your question about this? First of all, where did you get if? It's a conditional phrase, isn't it? The NIV is like, God is going to make your steps firm. And the condition is, the Lord should be delightful in his way. So if our ways is what God pleased with, and he will make our step firm. And then I think this is a very popular idea because of this NIV. I think we most of the time we read this version, right? And then we understand it as a conditional phrase. Oh, if we are following God's, what is it, commandment, and if our way of doing our life and living our life is, you know, something God likes, and everything will be going well, right? But in terms of literal translation, I think we cannot find the concept. So as Phineas said, we better say the steps of a man are from the Lord. Okay? And they have been prepared. So we don't know actually, it's really, does it imply good way of living or bad way of living? It simply gives the idea that God is in control. His sovereignty. That is the concept. Okay? And then the last phrase is what? How did you translate, Phineas?
And in his action, he will delight in, sir.
I think most of translations understand his way as human way, people's life. But do you think there is a possibility that we can translate it as God's way of his selection? How do you think? He delights his way, God's way, in terms of selection. As we said, the steps of a man are from God. He established them. He delights his choice, his selection. Can you apply this idea? I think we can apply this idea. I don't want to say it should be done that way, but we don't know what it means by his way. Because you can see many his way. Sometimes his way refers to human way, and sometimes it refers to God's way. So it will be certainly dependent on your study, and you will develop it. But what I'm trying to say is, do not simply rely on this English version, okay? And make open to any other possibilities. Probably we better say it refers to the man's way because of the context, but I don't want to say it should be done that way. Okay? But anyway, if we apply with the idea that it refers to human way, okay, then that definitely carries the idea that the pleasing human way is from God, and he established it. Something like that. That's the idea. But if we really stay with the return translation, then we can even see the concept that the Lord is sovereign. I think that is a quite important idea, which is quite different from NIV, right? So this will definitely affect your understanding of this entire passage. I think this is quite important passage. Okay, so enjoy the variety of this passage. Let's move on to verse 24. And since we don't have enough time, let's just read the translation. NIV goes like, though he stumble, he will not fall. See, the idea of falling is there. Okay, he will not fall, for the Lord upholds him with his hand. So where can you get the idea of though here? I think if you read the syntax book, it provides the idea that this can be used as a conditional phrase. So the concept of though can be there. That is the advanced grammatical aspect. Okay, not from me. I think you can check BDB. I think you can get the idea of though. So though he stumble, he will not fall. So what is the difference between stumble and falling? Then you need to go for the word study and you have to check the meaning of the word. So this one is, what is it? Napal. And then this one, right? What is the word? Is it yatal? 24. What is the original word? Tool. Yeah, it's tool. Tool. But anyway, referring to cast away or hurled. That's the difference. So nafal literally means you will just get stumble. But this tool gives the idea of you will just fly away and then your head will just go down. Okay, so totally, what is it? What is the word? There must be better explanation in terms of English. But anyway, that gives the idea. So when we stumble, that means you just stumble, right? But you will not really fall away and cast away up to the point that your head will hit the floor. Okay, because God is going to hold you. So that will not happen at all. So somehow when the weak or the evildoers are causing us to fall, we can be falling, but not cast away. All right. So that is quite important because God is holding you. So God wants to hold your hand, but the problem is sometimes we wanna just, what is it? We don't wanna hold his hand. That's the problem. All right. He is stretching out his hand, but we don't aware of the fact that he is stretching out his hand to hold us. Because of this anxiety and problems, we just focus on the environment or circumstances. We can hardly find out God's hands in our life. So when you are doing a lot of assignments and overwhelmed by God, I mean, a lot of assignments, and you are challenged by this textual criticism, and hey, do not just ignore God's hand. I know you can be stumbled, but you will not fall. Pastor Jun can cause you to fall, but you will not fall away. That's the most important lesson today. Hey, people of God, what have you learned today? You know, I appreciate one of our students just sent me one encouraging message that, you know, when I was doing my homework, I could find the profound meaning of God's words. I really appreciate it. Do not think you're wasting your time. Do not think Hebrews 3 is so much hard. It's hard, but don't give up. Move on. In the beginning, everything was really hard to me. You know, when I was reading some textbook, I was like, what is this? You read it, you read it, you don't understand. That's where you are. But you only need a little bit more time to be familiar with this. And interestingly, the more you spend your time, the more you will understand it. So do not say, oh, it's hard and I will not never understand it. Don't think that way. Just spend some time and, you know, practice, and it will become easier. But without doing it, it will not come to you finally. Okay? So now I'm really happy to see my students enjoying your Hebrew studies. Is it only my misunderstanding? I hope you guys are enjoying it in spite of those all challenges. Move on and be great Hebrew scholar and teach me later. Okay, I will learn from you. That's what I'm saying. I'm quite excited about your presentation. Start working on it and then help each other to learn and grow more. Okay? I'm gonna see you on Thursday. God bless you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.